Sairam, I'm sure you have celebrated Krishna Jayanti this week with all the little Krishnas in your home. Happy Krishna Jayanti and welcome to our virtual weekly satsang with our Region 3. Devotion alone bestows the supreme good. Devotion alone is the destroyer of the disease of the cycle of birth and death. Devotion alone is the means of recognizing divinity. Devotion alone is the means of liberation. Volume 29 from Satyasai Speaks. One of the ornaments to have devotion is Shravanam, listening to Lord's stories or experience from his devotees. Today, we have one such devotee as our speaker. She has been born into a family of Sai devotee, but Swami got her attention through the action of his own students when she was a little girl. She started her dream journey to Swami's college from the north part of India to become one of Swami's pearls. A graduate from Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, gold medalist, singer, writer, doctor. Apart from wearing several hats at home, she's also a SSC teacher. I welcome Sister Lakshmi Rahman to be our guest speakers today, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. In conversation with Sister Lakshmi Rahman is our sister Anu Venkateshwara, current president of Northeast Atlanta Sai Center. She's a wonderful narrator, singer, and a strong advocate of Sai Young Adult Program, SSC teacher, and also a student of Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning. Welcome you both. Sairam.
Thank you, Chitra. I offer my prayerful salutations at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan. Respected elders, brothers, sisters, and dear children, Sairam and a very good evening. Let us begin this conversation with a message from Swami. On October 20th, 1961, on the occasion of his Avatar Declaration Day, Swami said, "When you listen to my story, you forget the story of the world and live only in my story, so that you don't have any other story to relate to. The purpose of my story is to make you storyless." In these times of uncertainty, as we tune into these virtual satsangs and listen to Bhagwan's stories, we forget our worries and troubles and become storyless, don't we? Today we are joined by Sister Lakshmi, who's going to take us on a journey to Sai with her stories and personal experiences. Sairam Lakshmi, welcome to Region 3. Let's start right at the beginning. I'd love to hear about your childhood days and how you came to Swami, and do tell us about how your family was drawn to Swami, your family members, how they were drawn to Swami, how he entered your lives, and definitely a little bit about your childhood days. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Sairam, I offer my humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Mother Sai. Respected elders, brothers, sisters, and children, I thank Region 3 and Anu Akka for giving me this wonderful opportunity to reminisce about Swami, to recollect cherished memories, and also to rejuvenate my spiritual journey to Swami. Swami manifested himself and showed himself in our family in the mid-1960s. Through a couple of neighbors, my maternal side of the family, my mother and her mom, my grandmother, they were introduced to Swami. They heard, Swami's miracles, Swami's leelas, and they started attending bhajans. So it was bhajans that drew them to Swami initially. They were living in Chembur, Mumbai, and at that time there was no samiti in Chembur. So this was a family bhajans that they used to attend. And you know how Swami is, he draws you in through one of the margas, the Bhakti Marga in this case, and then slowly they were very active with the seva organization too, the Seva part of it. And my mom's younger sisters were Balvika's children. So it was like the whole family was involved, and mainly the women of the family were involved in the Sai activities. In 1972, my mom was blessed to be a part of the first summer course that was conducted. And she has such glorious experiences there, because that summer course was for a whole month with Bhagwan. So day in and day out, Swami was with them. And, my mother says that it really felt like, Swami was Krishna, and, the students were, gopis and gopas. That is how he was. He was really playful, but, there were moments of that insight when he gave them that wisdom, nuggets of wisdom. It was a combination of fun and enlightenment, everything rolled into one. And she, later the same year in 1972, she was also blessed to train as a Balvika's guru, and she received the certificate from Swami's own hands at that time. And she continued teaching as a Balvika's guru. And though she was a Balvika's guru, Swami, when he has his sankalpa, he decides on something, or he wants you to be in a certain place, he does his work and it happens. So though she was a Balvika's guru, in 1975, for Swami's 50th birthday, my mother was sent as a Sevadal delegate for the Sevadal conference from Mumbai, Maharashtra. That was her first trip to Puttaparthi. But she got married into a family that were not Sai devotees. My father was not a devotee, but he did not stop my mother from, believing in Bhagwan. From my very early childhood, I remember a small picture of Swami in the altar. So Swami has always been a part of my life. Just as I prayed to Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Ganesha, Swami was one among the many Hindu gods for me. And I knew that, he was in a small village called Puttaparthi. But for me, it was all the same. Just as I read that, Rama was from Ayodhya and Krishna was, in Mathura and Dwaraka. Yes, so Sai Baba was in Puttaparthi. I did not draw any close connection with Swami as a child. I have always been an avid reader, and I love to read mythology. So, I've to always read all these stories. And when I was, I think, in 3rd or 4th grade, we went to Puttaparthi and we got an illustrated book about Bhagwan's childhood and life. And I remember reading that book multiple number of times. But as I said, his Leelas and the stories that I read about Krishna or Lord Rama, it was all the same to me. I was physically far away from Bhagwan because I lived in Mumbai. And I had maybe 1 or 2 darshans of Swami when he came to Dharmakshetra. And because I was not a Balvika student as a child, I was a part of the Chinmaya mission Balvihar. My mother, though she was, a certified Balvika's guru, she did not start a Balvika's in the area where we lived, because the Chinmaya mission Balvihar was going on so well. She did not want to create a faction and, create a separation at that time, because things were going on so well. And she felt that, I was learning the same good values and learning about Hinduism and learning about religion. So she just left things be as it was. And so even when I had darshan of Swami in Dharmakshetra, because I was not a Balvika student, it was like, he was somewhere really far away. It was just in a small orange, someone clad in orange. That's what I remember. So that is how my childhood was, till I was in about 7th or 8th grade. I think that's when a kind of a little change started occurring.
Wonderful. As you were sharing, I was going back down memory lane. There are so many similarities between your story and mine. My mother too was drawn to Swami in the early 60s, so many similarities. In the Shirdi Sai Satcharitra, Baba says that we are like sparrows tied to his feet, and when he pulls the string, we are drawn to him. We really don't have a say in the matter, almost. And your family is definitely very blessed your mother particularly for having attended the first summer course, for receiving the Balvikas teacher certificate from Swami's divine hands, and for serving as a Sevadal in his milestone 50th birthday. So how did a young girl from a bustling metropolitan, cosmopolitan city of Mumbai in Maharashtra make the journey to Anantapur in Andhra Pradesh to join the women's campus of Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning? Can you share that story and maybe some of your cherished experiences as a Sai student?
Sure, Raka. I think I would have been in the 8th grade, and for the summer holidays, we had come down south. We were visiting a few cities, and we had some family living in Bangalore, and we visited them, and we got to know that Swami was in Brindavan at that time. So we quickly changed some of our plans, and we decided to, spend some days in Brindavan. So my mother, my younger brother, and myself, we came to Brindavan. And incidentally, at that time, the summer course was going on. And so I got wonderful darshan at that time, with Bhagwan, because there was only students and very few other devotees. And so real good darshan. And I saw these students get to, speak in front of Bhagwan, and, Swami addressing the students, and it all felt so magical. I just, wanted to be a part of that. I saw students walking in the disciplined manner in a straight line, going there and, getting that coveted Pada Namaskar from Swami. So it was all these external things, Swami interacting with them, and all that was, I really wanted to be one among them. And so what happened is my mother said, why don't you write a letter to Swami? So I wrote a letter saying that, Swami, I want to be your student. And incidentally, my mother also wrote a letter to Swami, expressing her desire that she wanted both her children to be his students in his institution. Swami took my letter, Swami took my mother's letter too. And, her dreams came true. Both me and my brother studied, finished our undergraduation and post-graduation in Swami's college. But at that time, so we came back to Mumbai from Bangalore, and I told my father that I wanted to study in Swami's college. So I was thinking, joining Swami's school. But my father just couldn't wrap his head around the fact that, his daughter would be going so far away from home. And he was like, no, I don't think a boarding school would work. And he would tell me all kinds of like horror stories of things that would happen in a boarding school just to, dissuade me from taking that step. And as it is with children, after a few days, I just forgot completely about it. It was just out of my mind. A few years down the line, my father got transferred to Bangalore. And so as a family, we moved to Bangalore. And that is when I had multiple darshans of Bhagwan, because we used to come almost every weekend, or whenever Swami was in Brindavan, we used to come for darshan. And once, right before my 12th standard board exams, we were planning to come to Brindavan for darshan. And I was also talking to my mother about, applying to different colleges in Bangalore for my further studies, for my undergraduate degree. And all of a sudden, my father is like, don't you want to study in Swami's college? And we were like, where did this come from, And he said that, and my mother and I, we just looked at each other. We said, okay, tomorrow morning we are going to Brindavan, and we're going to find out the details about. We didn't know anything about what the admission procedure was, when they would give the forms, nothing. It was just out of the blue. After darshan, we went to the boys' college there in Brindavan, to the front office, and we inquired from one of the gentlemen there whether we could get the admission forms. And he said, ma'am, last week was the last day that we were giving the forms. It's all over. And we tried to, cajole and request and say that please, one form, just one form, we didn't know, and all that. But he said, you should know how it is in the Sai organization, right? Rules are rules, and there's a discipline that's maintained. And unless and until it comes directly from Bhagwan, nobody is going to make any changes to that. And I was really disheartened, and we were just trying to walk out of that office, and there was another family who was standing right behind us, and that the gentleman there, he stopped us and he said, you know, in Sanatan Sarati, a different date is published as a last date for the forms. And so when we immediately mentioned that to the office clerk there, he said that must be some printing error, because always, you know, this is a certain date that we follow. That's the last date when the admission forms are given out. And he said, if you're really keen about it, go to Puttaparthi, to the administrative block, and, you know, talk to them about it. So the very next day, my mother and I, we went to Puttaparthi. We went there to the administrative block. We heard the same thing from them, that the last date is over, there are no more forms to be had, and we cannot do anything about it. And, you know, we did the same thing, you know, pleading and cajoling, and nothing worked. And finally, my mother said the same thing that she had heard from him. We had not even looked at the Sanatan Sarati to see if that date was correct. We just said that we heard that in the Sanatan Sarati, you know, this was the date that's given. And that person just paused, looked at us. He went inside, and we were, you know, left waiting outside there for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, but that must have been like the longest 20 minutes of my life. We kept waiting and waiting, and finally he came and he said, okay, give me 50 rupees for the forms. And he gave it to us, and we had to, like, you know, expedite everything. He said, you just have, you know, till this weekend to finish everything and to send it. And I sent it. I got, I heard back from them that, you know, I was selected to write the entrance exam, and wrote the entrance exam, went through the interview process. And as I say, the rest is history. I was blessed to be Swami's student for 5 whole years. And once I reached Anantapur, you know, just the very fact, knowing that Bhagwan had walked those hallways, Bhagwan had even sat in some of those chairs that we sat in the classrooms, you know, when we heard that from the teachers, that, you know, changed my outlook. That, you know, God is not someone who's like really far away from you. He's amongst us. That really hit home. And the experiences of singing bhajans in the Anantapur hostel, people may think that I'm being, you know, partial and prejudiced, but I think those are one of the best bhajan sessions that I have attended. And, you know, Swami's presence and him showing the small and big experiences there, that, you know, you see sometimes manifestation of his presence in the form of vibhuti coming from an altar, or even like when bhajans are going on, you know, there have been students who have really felt, you know, the jhula getting heavy, like someone has sat. And when I was a student, you know, we saw once Swami's footprints were on the footrest, on the jhula. So though Swami was not physically present in Anantapur, they were like, through so many small and big things, he showed us his presence. And I think I was really lucky when I went back to pursue my master's in literature. And I was a student of Jayama Madam, Dr. Lakshmi Gopinath. She really changed my outlook on what a relationship between God and devotee is. I think she is a quintessential devotee. I think we should all aspire to be like her. You know, she was a wonderful storyteller. You know, she had a way with words, and the way she used to spin this beautiful, intricate tapestry of, you know, her interaction with Swami. I really felt that, you know, I was watching what was taking place between her and Bhagwan. Many times we used to be like, you know, ma'am, we are done enough with Milton and Chaucer. We want to hear about your experience with Swami. And she used to be like, no, child, we need to finish the syllabus. But she used to be drawn in, and the smile on her face, and, you know, she used to have such a contented look when she spoke about Swami. And I remember her sharing this experience of when she was a young girl, when she was a teenager, and she missed out on the opportunity of getting an interview when her parents were called in, because she was busy decorating the altar. And she wept and sobbed because she missed that opportunity. And when Swami came directly and asked her, Jayamma, what do you want? She said, I want your photo. And Swami was like, a photo, water can ruin it, fire can burn it, it can get torn. Just keep me in your heart. And I thought that was such a profound message. But, Swami is like an indulgent parent. He did materialize, a photo for her, and she has shown that to us. That was, I think, one of her cherished possessions that she had. And when we were blessed enough to, go to her room to have sometimes extra class because we couldn't get done with the portions during the regular college hours, we were blessed to see, Swami's letter to her, Swami's photo that he had materialized, and all these things. So I think it gradually changed, Swami, when you talk about, friendship or that close relationship, it is not just, Sudama and Krishna having that relationship, or, Hanuman with Rama. Here, we saw someone in flesh and blood, Jayamma Madam and Swami, because she had such beautiful memories of, even like giving bath to Swami's pet dogs. I mean, who among us would imagine that we would have an opportunity to do that with the Lord of the universe? So I think all those experiences, hearing those experiences, not just from Jayamma Madam, even from some of the other teachers who are blessed to have some wonderful experiences with Bhagwan. And even as a student, Swami was so loving and caring to his girls. He was so protective about us. Be it a small thing like during the sports meet, when we were practicing under the hot sun, he would make sure that we had like chilled chocolate milk or badam milk coming in. So like a caring mother, he showed us that yes, I may be giving darshan in Kulwant Hall, but I still remember that my girls, you are under the hot sun, and this is how I care for you. And having experiences as the final year interview session with Bhagwan, such loving words from him. During my final year interview as a master's student, I remember Swami, emphasizing about, watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thought, watch your character, and watch your heart. And he spoke about, if you do that, then you're following all the values, you're following all of Swami's teachings. That is what you need to do. Everybody in the world is going to be watching you when they hear that you are Swami's girl, student. They're going to know, they're going to expect certain behaviors from you. They're going to expect certain discipline from you. And so all these things, I think it was an amalgamation of multiple things. Just being in that place where Swami had visited multiple times, listening to all these beautiful stories, and also, personally as a student, having small interactions with him got me, close to him, made me have a closer, a cherished bond with Bhagwan.
Wonderful. What beautiful, beautiful experiences indeed. And your admission to Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning was truly a miracle. I don't know if many can share the same story. And when you were sharing about Swami's love for his women students, I remembered something that Sonam Bhai, the great bhajan composer, he had visited Region 3 in 2018 for the regional retreat. And at that time, during the musical offering, he shared something that Swami had once told the boys. Apparently, Swami said, my boys are my boys, my girls are my pearls. And we all know how precious pearls are. An indulgent parent, absolutely. And that is how precious and special we all are to Swami. And he was always the protective, caring mother. And as you were sharing about our beloved warden, Jayamma Madam, not only was she an excellent storyteller and an orator, she was also a wonderful singer. In fact, Swami would apparently ask her to sing Meera bhajans in the Mandir in the older days. And this actually is a great segue to my next question for you. We are celebrating Krishna Janmashtami this week, and in a few days we have the Ganesh Chaturthi festival coming up. Some of my fondest memories during my student days are from attending a lot of these grand festivities and celebrations with Swami, both in Parthi and in Vrindavan. I clearly remember Guru Purnima. For one Krishna Janmashtami, I remember my mother had brought chide, murukka, and all of these bachanams, the savory items. She had counted 108 and she had brought, and we happened to keep it for display in the Anantapur campus area where we were sitting. Swami came and tried a piece and asked, "What is this?" So those are some of my fondest memories from my student days. And I'm sure you have stories of your own from attending these festivals and Swami's divine physical presence. So would you share a few of those with us, please?
Sure. I should be very honest and say that though I enjoyed my stay in Anantapur hostel, it's almost like every month I used to mark the days that we would go to Puttaparthi for a festival. And I think we are blessed to have almost every month, at least one or two festivals that come up. And we used to really be eager to go, and Puttaparthi would get such a festive look for any festival, and then Swami's discourse and getting the sweets, and at that time all these tangible things were so much more valuable for me. If Swami, we would just wait for if Swami would personally throw the sweets or chocolate or whatever, just waiting for those. I don't know. It's just I don't have words to describe those moments. I can share about what happened during Janmashtami 1996. So that was a year that I was a new student at Anantapur. So I started my journey as a student in Anantapur. We had summer course at that time. So 25 years after my mother attended the first summer course, I got to attend summer course as a student of Bhagwan. And after that, we went back to Anantapur, were there in college. And I think in July or something, we came for Guru Purnima. And then after that, there was a long gap till September. That's when Janmashtami was. And I think it was at that time that, the intense homesickness just kicked into me. Just the realization that my parents are not anywhere, in close proximity. It was really hot in Anantapur, getting used to the food and the routine and doing everything for myself. I was not used to taking care of all my things, washing my clothes, taking care of my things. It was a lot, and it was like starting to weigh on me. And I was really looking forward to going to Prashantinilayam for Janmashtami, because I was craving for Swami's darshan. I wanted him to look at me and give some sign that he's there with me. We went to Prashantinilayam. We reached the evening, and we ran and sat. I think Aarti was going on or something, and we sat there for darshan. And Swami walked past us like we didn't even exist, that we were not even sitting there. So I was like, okay, maybe Swami didn't see that, we came in the last minute, but tomorrow is another day, and he'll come for darshan. I think I even skipped breakfast because I was hoping that I would be somewhere in the front. I really wanted Swami's darshan. And we went and sat, and, all the Nadaswaram music and everything started playing, and I was so eager to see Bhagwan. And Bhagwan came with his beautiful gliding walk, and he walked through, he turned, everywhere, took letters, spoke to people, materialized Vibhuti, and once again, he just ignored the Anantapur block. He didn't even turn and look at us, not even once. They were like, some of us even calling out, trying to say, Swami, Swami, but he just looked in the opposite direction, and he spoke, he stood there, but he just didn't look at us. And I think that was a breaking point for me. sitting there in Kulwanthal, I sobbed my eyes out. I was crying really bad. And I saw Swami walk, and for Janmashtami, the boys dress up like the gwalas and they get the cows and deer and everything. And I saw Swami, beautifully feeding the cow, the deer, and he was showering so much love and affection on these animals that I had all these internal thoughts going on, with all this self-pity. And I was like, Swami, why did you create me as a human being? I wish I was an animal. I wish I was that cow. That cow is getting your attention. It is getting your love. It is getting, you are showering so much love on him and you just ignored me. So I think it's a waste being a human being. I was crying, I was sobbing. And then a little bird went and sat, close to Swami. I said, at least I wish I was that bird who could fly and come close to you. It was all these kinds of thoughts that were going into me. And you will not believe, Akka, that day's discourse, this is how Swami started after, he says like a poem and then he moves on, right? So I'll just read out his words because nobody can tell it better than Bhagwan. This is what Swami said in Janmashtami 1996. Today, man is like an earthen pot filled with nectar. His body may be made of clay, but his spirit is eternal. The divine has to be experienced through the body. Hence, human birth should not be treated as something trivial. Human life is worth living. It should be cherished as something precious. But today, such a precious gift is being treated as dirt. It is essential to realize the value of human existence. We say that Swami is omniscient, but this was like, an immediate response to what my thoughts were. He says, he is resound, reaction, reflection of what we think and what we are. And it was with such alarming clarity, he just said that your thoughts are wrong. You shouldn't be thinking that way. So I will never forget Janmashtami of 1996. And I should also mention that I was among those blessed few girls who were from Kerala who got to go to Puttaparthi during Onam celebrations. And that was a very special occasion because we used to be like about 15-20 girls or a little more than that. And we used to do a lot of prayers and sadhana, hoping that, Swami would give us Pada Namaskar. And one year we were doing the Satcharita Parayanam every morning, hoping to please Swami with our sadhana. And we went there and we asked, Swami looked at us and he said, oh, Malayali girls from Anantapur. And he was like, Santosham, Santosham. And he went. And we asked him, Swami, Pada Namaskaram. And then he was like, acting again, like, what do you want? And we are all familiar with that, right? Sometimes he does that. And he just walked away. But we were intensely praying and, we were hoping that Swami would spend more time along with us. We knew that he would be busy with the celebrations, the Onam celebrations, and you had so many dignitaries from Kerala come and all that. But that was another lesson for me about the power of prayer, especially group prayer. We girls, we went back to the dormitory and we had, we sang bhajans for 3 or 4 hours and we were praying constantly. And we made sure that, we weren't chit-chatting or we weren't doing anything that we felt would displease Bhagwan. And in that prayerful attitude, we went the following day, which was the Onam day. And we sat there for darshan. And finally, in the evening, before we were about to leave, Swami indicated he wanted us to form rows, and he gave us Pada Namaskar on that day. So that, again, through personal experience, I realized the potency of group prayer. When as a group we offer something, it is more powerful than an individual's prayer. At this time, I would also like to share about the Ladies' Day function. It may not be a festival, but I think in Puttaparthi, Ladies' Day is a festival, no less. Um, and One of the years, I was among the few girls chosen to sing for the Ladies' Day program. And we were all seated there, and in front of us, there were, stalwarts, musicians like MS Lakshmi, and there were so many other musicians waiting to sing. And Swami heard them sing, and then he gave us an opportunity to sing too. And at that time, I didn't realize, how blessed we were. But later, when I was looking back on that, I was like, world-renowned musicians were waiting to offer their music to Bhagwan. And Bhagwan was so gracious to listen to amateurs like us. That really, was a lesson in humility for me, especially when I saw MS Amma, turning and asking one of the organizers whether she would have a chance to sing one more song for Swami. It was a lesson that, that we shouldn't take our blessings for granted. Any opportunity with Swami, we have to approach it with humility, because there are many more people, I think, more deserving and maybe much more talented than us. But at that point, he has decided that he has to give that opportunity to a certain person. He knows the reason for what that is. And I think we have to approach it with that attitude of humility and reverence to Bhagwan.
Beautiful. What precious stories, as you were sharing about Janmashtami Day, and how, I was thinking about how much Swami cared that he did not want one student out of the hundreds in the audience to self-deprecate, and he wanted to correct that behavior. He was being a loving mother, he was sending you a message. At the same time, he was also being a stern father, because he did not want you to tell yourself, oh, I wish I had been an animal or a bird. That's Swami's love for us, right? And while you were talking about Krishnashtami, I was also thinking about the word Gopala that Swami elaborated on to the students. He said, the mother cow, the Gomata, when she delivers the calf, she licks the calf clean. It comes out with all of the fluid and all of the dirt, the blood. The mother cow licks the calf of all of that and cleans the baby and presents it to the world. And Swami said, if an animal can do that for its child, I have the love of 1,000 mothers. Imagine how much I care for you. Very, very beautiful stories, Lakshmi. And, as you're sharing this, even in the past, earlier when we were talking about your childhood and now your days as a Sai student, it is very apparent to me that the transformation in your relationship with Bhagwan has been gradual. It didn't happen overnight. It has been gradual. And based on our own interactions from our travels over the last decade, beginning from Trinidad, I think Flushing and Dallas and California, all the other centers and regions that we've been to for our alumni programs, including musical offerings that you and I were a part of, it is really clear and evident to me that your special bond with Swami is through music, and that's your special connection with him. It's only through music. Many may not be aware. It is my duty to bring it to your attention. Lakshmi here hails from a family of wonderful, gifted musicians, very humble musicians, some of whom are actually bhajan composers. To this day, some of the bhajans composed by your uncle are sung in Sai centers all over the world. And Lakshmi, you're also married into the family of Padma Shri and Sangeeta Natak Academy winner, the legendary late Shri M.D. Ramanathan sir. It would be wonderful if we could hear a few musical stories from you, if I may, and definitely please sing a few lines, if not the entire song, at least sing a few lines of some of your favorite songs or bhajans. I hope you would accept my request.
I think talking about my spiritual journey and my bond with Swami, it would be incomplete if I don't talk about my bond with Swami through music, because I think that is what has strengthened my bond with Swami. And as you may hear the same refrain in my stories, as I think with everybody with age and maturity and with experiences, how we relate with God, our relationship with God, it undergoes a vast change. So as a teenager and a student, I was still hanging on to those, something that is tangible, something that I could feel, I could see, I could perceive. That was important for me, to help me reach this point now. Even though Swami is not in his physical form, I can kind of still recreate those memories. I can, reimagine them, and I can still get that same sense of bliss and happiness that I found then. I want to start by sharing in 2000, I think, yes, it was the summer of 2000. As a final year student, I had the opportunity to attend a summer course again. So I attended summer course as a brand new student, and my final year again had the opportunity to attend summer course. And during that summer course, I was one of the students selected to give a talk. And my theme was, that music as a means to the divine. And I was sitting in the darshan line the day I was about to talk, and I wanted Swami's blessings before I spoke. So as he came close to me, I rose up a little and I said, Swami, I'm going to talk today. I'm going to give a talk today. And Swami asked me again, what? And I said, Swami, I'm going to talk today. And he said, don't talk, sing, always sing. And I've taken that to heart. For a long time, anywhere I went only as a singer. It's been, I think, like Anu Akka has roped me in as a speaker now. But I'm inherently a singer, an amateur singer, but I love music because I think it really strengthens my bond and connection with God. So during Shivratri, one of the years, in the morning, early hours of the morning, right before Swami, started walking from his residence, our teacher suddenly told me to sing Shri Kari Kripa Kari. That was not the bhajan that I had prepared for Shivratri, because we sing usually all Shiva bhajans. And she was like, sing Shri Kari, and she just, put the mic in front of me. And it was a last minute decision, and I started singing, and Swami started walking from the mandir at that time. And so I was facing the dais there. You sit in the Kulwant hall for Shivratri, not inside the mandir. And so Swami was walking right behind. And I couldn't see Swami, but each time the people were following, I used to turn and look at him to see, where is Swami? And it was taking him a long time to come to the front. But what happened is when I was singing those lines, Tandava Keli Priya Kari Bhairavi Pralayankari. He just stood there and he was swaying so beautiful. Even when I finished the last line, he was just standing there and, swaying with his, hands moving. And that was such a beautiful sight. I will never forget. Whenever I sing this bhajan or even any other bhajan, I close my eyes and, that form of Bhagwan standing there and swaying to the music, it comes in front of my mind. And I think at that age, that was a very important experience for me when I could see, physically Swami enjoying that music. It made me realize, how valuable that gift of music is. Swami says, God is Nada Priya, He's Sangita Priya. So I didn't need any other example than, seeing Swami enjoy that. And there have been other experiences too. Once during Akhand Bhajan, it was almost towards the end of the bhajans, when Swami would break the coconut and, sprinkle the coconut water on the prasad that was kept inside. So as the prasad was kept inside and the coconuts were being broken, I was singing the bhajan, Jai Jagadisha Hare. And it was like so timely when I was singing that line, Jaya Devi Bharati Vidyadayini Annapurna Mata. that during that Annapurna Mata Om, Swami was sprinkling that coconut water. Even now I get goosebumps when I think about that. It was, with Swami, there's no coincidence. It was such a beautiful reminder that he is the one who nourishes us. He is the one who takes care of every minute detail in our lives, and also the macrocosm. Nothing is either too small or big for him to take care of. We just have to have the faith and belief that he will take care of it, and it happens. And I would like to share one more experience that really was a lesson for me, that doesn't matter what a beautiful voice you have, or what musical prowess you have. Bhavam is the most important aspect in singing. This was during another Akhand Bhajan, and I was singing the bhajan Madhava Hare Krishna. And unfortunately, Swami got up and left the mandir. And I think that is a very heartbreaking thing for many of the singers. You don't want Swami to get up and leave when you are singing. But I was singing that bhajan, and later, the next day, I got to know from one of the Brindavan students who was sitting in the veranda. His sister was my junior in Anantapur, and he had conveyed that during that bhajan, when I sang, he came and he told the boys, listen to how they're saying the word Krishna with so much bhavam. So, and that made me so happy, and that made me realize that, when you sing, bhavam is the most important aspect. Understanding the meaning of the lyrics and imbuing that bhavam, trying to put yourself in the frame of mind of the composer. So the line goes this way, Madhava Hare Krishna Madhura Mohana Gokula Balana Devaki Nandana Venu Vilolana Papa Vinashana Madhava Hare Krishna Madhura Mohana.
Beautiful. I was hoping you'd sing more. Beautiful. Truly enjoyed hearing all of those songs. And Lakshmi, when Swami said, sing and speak less, you should have sung some more. I truly felt like I wanted to hear more. And let me be the first to say that we are glad that Swami guided you to speak and sing at our region today. And as you were sharing that story about the Annapurna Mata during the bhajan Jai Jagadisha, my hair too stood on ends. I had goosebumps too. Only Swami can make this happen, right? We cannot plan these things. It gives a whole new meaning to Bhagwan's words. Life is a song, sing it.
Yes.
Changing gears, Lakshmi, you wear many hats. That of a daughter, sister, a friend, a daughter-in-law, a wife, of course, as a mother, a chef, even a chauffeur. The list is just endless. And in your day job as a speech pathologist for the Collierville School District, you work with children and help them communicate and express themselves so they can have a better quality of life. You're also an SSC teacher. You continue to be involved in Sai Center activities with your husband, Balaji. I want to hear, please tell us, and all the viewers and all the devotees in our region, how do you continue to feel Swami's presence in your life, even today? It's been 9 years since Bhagwan's Mahasamadhi. What is a message that you would like to convey to the devotees as we come to the end of this conversation? This is a heavily loaded question and very intense. May I ask that you begin maybe with some song, maybe one on Ganesha. I know at some point you mentioned to me you had an experience during Ganesh Chaturthi of 2000. Maybe you can start with that and then answer these questions, the series of questions I asked you.
The Ganesh Chaturthi of 2000 was a year of Swami's 75th birthday, and so I think the Karnataka Samiti, they had I think 750 Ganeshas. Okay. And we got to see those Ganeshas, beautiful Ganeshas. And Swami, in his discourse, he said something that was so profound. He was like, he was very appreciative that, they had got the 750 Ganeshas. But he wanted us to realize that, be it 750 Ganeshas or 7 crore Ganeshas, you have to remember that Ganesha is just one. And there were some words in that discourse that he said, some of his that have stayed with me. He said that, how we pray to the Lord doesn't matter what form of the Navavida Bhakti we use, but the aspect of love has to be underlined. If love is not present, then it doesn't matter whether you do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, none of it matters what stage you are. Even if you say that you are in the stage of Atma Nivedanam and surrender, if you do not have love in your heart, it's of no use. And in the same discourse, he also spoke about how every aspect of our life has divinity in it. If we just look that, every action is divine. And I think that has stayed with me. And I try to live my life, to that dictum. He gave some beautiful examples. He said, God is not contained in a picture or a figure. But a picture or a figure can be divine if you attribute it to be divine. And he said, for a driver, the steering wheel is divine, because in India, you see drivers, they will do that before they go on a long trip. They pray to that they have a successful journey. Similarly, anklets or the chalangai in itself is not divine, but for a dancer, it is divine. So it is, you can make inanimate objects divine with the way you look at it. And every action that you do, so that is something that I try, be it at work, be it at home, the way I do things, the way I try to relate with my family. That's still a work in progress. But I try to remind myself of that love has to be the factor that drives everything in your life. And you have to, as Swami says, everything should be Sai Arpanam. If every act that you do, if you do it, as an offering to Bhagwan, and if you ask yourself this question, would Swami be pleased with it? Would Swami approve of this? I think we would make more right choices, conscious right decisions in our life. And you asked for a Ganesh bhajan, and I'll just sing a couple of lines of a
Sure, that would be wonderful. Yeah. And then do also sing a complete song towards the end of this section.
Ganesh. Gauri Ganesha Vinayaka Gauri Ganesha Vinayaka Gauri Ganesha Vinayaka He Gauri Ganesha Vinayaka. And you were asking me about how have I felt Swami's presence even in his physical absence. Swami makes things interesting for us by giving us analogies and giving us examples that are really concrete. So I look at Swami like a gardener. We are the plants, the flowers growing in his gardener. And any successful gardener knows that you have to do a lot of groundwork before the flowers start blooming. you have to dig and shovel, and it's a lot of hard work. And fortunately for us, he does a lot of the hard work for us. So I would like to go back to a time even when Swami was physically present, and just share some of my experiences from that time, which I feel laid the foundation for where I am now. Um, so this was in 2000, and my parents wanted to get me married soon after my graduation. And they had as in many of the South Indian families, my horoscope was matched. They had met the family, they had seen the boy, all that was done, all that was left was for me to come and meet the boy and say either yes or no. So I came reluctantly because I was not ready to get married at that time. I was barely 21. And but my parents were like, we're not going to force you, but we want you to do this because he's leaving to the US. And so you have to come and see him now, kind of thing. So I did come, and that's when I met my husband now, Balaji. And we just wanted to, go to some place and talk without any disturbance or anything. So I still had so many apprehensions, and I was so scared. I had very less experience, talking to a man who was not my family, other than my cousins, my uncles, and I had not spoken much to men. And here was a strange man, and I was, to talk to him. And I was really scared, but I was also scared to tell him, no, I will not come with you. So we just got, and we went out of the house to catch an auto rickshaw. And the first thing that I see inside the auto rickshaw was a big picture of Swami with the words, "Why fear when I am here?" And that made me feel a little better when I saw Swami's picture there. And in Swami's inimitable way, that day, the restaurant that we went to, there was a huge picture of Swami with Abhyasta there. There were 2 or 3 shops that I went to because, he was leaving to the US and he had some shopping to do too. So we were just talking and going to stores. And you won't believe it, Akka, every store had a Swami's picture that we went into. So it was like, he was showing me, though he was not physically close to me, that, he is there. He is there. He is taking care of me. He is kind of, giving his blessing for my future life. And I just took it as that. And it's going to be almost 20 years since we are married. That was one thing that I wanted to share. And the next thing is, you said that I'm a speech pathologist. In 2009 is when I started working as a speech pathologist. The first assignment that I had was in a not so great area in Memphis. Whenever people hear that my first job was in Whitehaven, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, you went to Whitehaven, Memphis." Constantly you can hear police cars going with the sirens blaring. And this was in a Head Start program there, which was also part of the Memphis City Schools at that time. It was housed inside a YMCA. They didn't have an office or a room for me. I was put like in a room that was a catch-all for everything. Broken equipment from the gym, exercise balls and chairs, you name it. That room had everything. And in a corner, they had set a table and chair for me to, basically they wanted me to test the children and identify if there are any children with a language impairment or a speech impairment. And I heard a couple of students also tell me, when they heard the police sirens going, that, "Oh, that's the police, come on, let's hide." And all that experience, it broke my heart. And I was questioning, have I taken the right profession? I had all these doubts, is this the right thing for me? Um, am I in the right place? And I just felt that, I wasn't equipped to the job that I'd signed up for. And it was during that time, this was October. And in November, I was invited with a group of Anantapur alumni for a program in Miami, Florida. And I was going to be a speaker there and a singer. And so I was, during my lunch break, I was just writing down some thoughts and ideas, noting down what my experiences with Bhagwan were, what I could share with people. And I came to, writing my final year interview. And it just struck me what happened then. During my final year interview, when I was sitting for Pad Namaskar, this is my BA final year, I was not planning to come back to Anantapur for my master's. I wanted to pursue a master's in journalism. I wanted to be a writer. And my parents didn't want me to do that because I was talking about going to Delhi and studying. And they were like, no, we will send you to Anantapur. I mean, Swami's college is secure and safe. Or you can stay at home and study in Bangalore. But no, Delhi is out of question. So I thought that I was being very smart and clever, and that, if I got Swami's permission, if Swami says yes, then my parents cannot say no, right? Because Swami has given his approval. So when we were sitting when Swami was walking among the girls and giving us Pad Namaskar, I raised myself and I said, Swami, I want to do journalism. And again, Swami was like, what? And I said, Swami, I want to be a writer. Swami, I want to be a writer. And Swami just looked at me and he said, speech chesko. And at that time, I was so frustrated with Bhagwan, in reality, because I wanted him to say, yes, go ahead and, be a writer. And that I could tell my parents that, yes, Swami said yes, so, you need to give me permission. And as things turned out, I went back to Anantapur. Again, the draw was Bhagwan. Just thinking I would have 2 more years of darshan and sparshan and getting a chance to maybe even sing for him in his physical presence. That's what drew me to Anantapur again. But, when I was sitting down and writing, so this happened in 1999, and I'm talking about in 2009, is when I realized that, Swami had kind of given me an indication that, I had to pursue speech therapy. So after that, there's been no looking back. Anytime when the things get tough, I have difficult parents to deal with, contentious meetings, I always, go with the same prayer, Swami, speak through me. I understand that these parents are in pain. We are not giving them a happy news. When usually parents come to me, they're not coming to me in happiness, and some of them are not, they're going through the grief process. Their perfect little baby has some imperfections, needs some help. And so I always pray to Bhagwan, give me the words that's going to convey to them the severity of the issue. I don't want to sugarcoat what is going on, but at the same time, what I say to them should not hurt their feelings, should give them some kind of confidence that, yes, it's going to be difficult, but we will get there one step at a time. And Swami has always guided me and made sure that, because sometimes after the meetings, I've heard my principal come and say that you said that so beautifully and I don't know what I said. It is Bhagwan. It is Bhagwan most of the times. And there's one more incident that I would like to share. Many times as human beings, though Swami gives us so many different validations that he is with us. Swami says, I'm in you, I'm with you, I'm above you, I'm below you, I'm around you, in front, back. We forget it when in times of difficulties, when you are physically unable, when you are suffering sometimes we tend to forget that, Bhagwan is there. Everything happens for a reason. There is a reason for everything. This happened a few years back, in 2016, to be exact. In 1999, for my master's, I received the gold medal from Bhagwan for Standing University First. But those were the times when you didn't have the digital camera. So exactly at the time when Swami gave me the gold medal, the photographer was changing the film reel. And so we tried a lot, tried to go through multiple sources. My brother was a student at Brindavan then. He tried asking multiple people, but nobody had pictures. And my brother was seated somewhere far, and he took some pictures, and you can barely see Bhagwan and me. I mean, you just know because of his robe color, and that girl could be anybody. I wanted someone where I could see my face and I could see Bhagwan's face. Sometimes we're never satisfied with what Swami gives us. And that was always, I used to feel always bad about that I didn't have a photo as a memory for that incident. And my husband Balaji, somehow he was always positive, and he said, one day you will get it, one day. And I said, how? It's been so many years and I've not got it. How can I get something now? And you won't believe it. In 2016, I was going through some health issues, and I was like really, really anemic and so super tired all the time. And, when you're so tired, it kind of, leads you to feel a little depressed and low all the time. And when I was feeling like, oh, Swami, how much more of this should I bear? What is this? Where are you? Why have you abandoned me? Kind of, And when you go into the rabbit hole of self-pity, it is a slippery slide. You go the whole way. But it was one of those days when I was in real pain, physical pain, not emotionally or mentally strong. I was at my weakest point. And I got up in the morning, and I took my phone, and I saw that I had some message on my WhatsApp. And it was from one of my friends in Anantapur. And she said, look what I found. And there was a video clip. I played that, and I saw that it was a convocation video from 1999. And I could see myself taking the Pada Namaskar and receiving the medal from Bhagwan. And it made my day. It made my day. And I was like, Swami, I needed this assurance that you are with me, this reminder that, no matter how tough the going is, I am with you every step of the way. So these were some of the episodes. And sometimes, it doesn't have to be something big, for us to realize that, Swami is with us. Even these past 2 weeks, I work in a school district, and it has been so contentious and ugly, just talking about this, reopening of the school, and, parents wanting one thing, teachers wanting something, the board and the administration wanting something completely different. Every day, it has been, not a very pleasant experience going into work, and so much of anxiety and uncertainty as to, what the next day is going to bring. But, Swami made sure that I remained grounded. This last 2 weeks, I underwent an SSE teachers retraining. So every evening for a couple of hours, I had to, stop thinking about work, stop thinking about anything, stop, looking at my Facebook feed about, what people are arguing and discussing about the school reopening. And I was focused on, learning about, Swami's teachings about the 5 values. How are we going to impart this to the children? What ideas, brainstorming ideas, how to, it was so wonderful. We were 18 of us, again, a divine number in the training. And every day, it was a much needed respite. I think even this whole experience of this pandemic has given us all an opportunity to reset our priorities. I think we all have been leading such automated lives, like robotic, just doing same things day in and day out. And at least for me personally, I have listened to so much more of bhajans and so many more discourses, and listening to people talk and share these wonderful stories, listening to upanyasam. It has been a wonderful time to spend with my family, to regroup and to understand what priorities in life really are. And we are all at different stages in our spiritual journey with Bhagwan. To paraphrase Bhagwan, he says we are all like lotus buds in a pond. The sun shines on all of us equally, but there are a few lotus buds that bloom faster than the others. But the other buds, we shouldn't be discouraged, or we shouldn't be despaired that we haven't bloomed yet, we haven't blossomed yet. The time will come. When the time is right, we will blossom at that time. Not a minute soon, not a minute late. So I think we all just have to understand that we are all Swami's lotus blossoms, and his sunlight is shining on all of us, and we will all blossom beautifully in our own time. I want to end my talk with one of Swami's sayings, which I think is very pertinent for our times. Swami says, when there is faith, there is love. When there is love, there is peace. When there is peace, there is God. And when there is God, there is bliss. And this importance of faith has also been very beautifully described by Sant Kabir Das in one of his bhajans. So I would like to leave all of you with the beautiful words of our Bhagwan and Sant Kabir Das, which extols the importance of Vishwas, or that constant, unconditional faith in the divine, that he is always in you and that you are a reflection of divinity himself. मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, ना तीरथ में ना मूरत में, ना एकांत निवास में, ना मंदिर में ना मस्जिद में, ना कभी कैलाश में। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, ना मैं जप में ना मैं तप में, ना मैं व्रत उपास में, ना मैं क्रिया कर्म में रहता, नहीं योग संन्यास में। मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, खोजी साथ मिल जाऊं, एक पल की तलाश में। कह कबीर सुनो भई साधो, मैं तो हूँ विश्वास में, मुझको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास में, मुझको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे। साईराम।
Such a soulful rendition and so pregnant with meaning. This happens to be a personal favorite of mine, Lakshmi, because of the powerful takeaway that when we seek earnestly, we'll discover that God is where our faith lies. And the beautiful quote of Bhagwan that you shared sums this up so beautifully. Just as he showed you the sign at a time when you needed it the most, whether it was with the wife here when I am here sign popping up just at the right moment, or making you get a hold of the video of your gold medal blessing at the lowest point in your life, his timing is always impeccable and perfect. And in the middle of a pandemic, when we hear such stories, we all take comfort in knowing that, I'm reminded of Swami's divine reassurance. He would say, Neenta, Janta, Venta, Kanta, Nene eppudu untanu. He would remind us, I'm always with you, in you, with you, beside you, behind you. Don't forget, I'm also in you. He's always with us, guiding us. Thanks for that powerful reminder. And Lakshmi, on a light note, you are a writer because you help with SSC plays and productions for your Prema Putras, the SSC children. And of course, you also help with our SSC alumni, our Sai alumni presentations. You help with the script for that too. So you are a writer indeed. It has been an absolute joy and a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I got to learn a lot about you, though I've known you for 10 years now. I got to learn so much about you and about your experiences with Swami. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Region 3 officers for giving me this opportunity to reconnect with you and to hear these wonderful stories firsthand. I send my love and light to you and your loved ones, Lakshmi, and to all the devotees who have tuned in for this session. Thank you, and Sairam.
Sairam, what a great program and beautiful songs today. Swami's teaching that we revisited today through our sisters are Bhavam is more important while rendering music. The potency of group prayer is more powerful than individual prayer. If you don't have love in your heart, whatever path we choose in the Navavida Bhakti, 9 path of devotion, is of no use. God is not far away from you. He's amongst us. He takes care of all the minute details of our life. Therefore, what we must have is faith and belief. And of course, Swami is a wonderful gardener. Otherwise, we wouldn't taste these wonderful fruits that came from his garden today. Thank you, Sister Lakshmi, for letting us experience your life journey with Swami as a parent, friend, and much more. And thank you, Sister Anu, for the extraordinary moderating with this conversation. And Sairam brothers and sisters, please stay back for a wonderful devotional program with bhajans and prayers that we arranged for you today.
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। 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 ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्।
जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना।
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 विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना।
विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना।
विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना।
विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना।
जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना।
जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना।
जय हिरम्बा श्री जगदम्बा नंदना।
श्री जगदम्बा नंदना।
जय हिरम्बा श्री जगदम्बा नंदना।
जय हिरम्बा श्री जगदम्बा नंदना।
एकदंता दयावंत शुभानना।
एकदंता दयावंत शुभानना।
एकदंता दयावंत शुभानना।
एकदंता दयावंत शुभानना।
मंगलदायक श्री विनायक वंदना।
मंगलदायक श्री विनायक वंदना।
मंगलदायक श्री विनायक वंदना।
मंगलदायक श्री विनायक वंदना।
जय श्री गणेश मङ्गलदायक श्री विनायक वन्दना
मङ्गलदायक श्री विनायक वन्दना
मङ्गलदायक श्री विनायक वन्दना
मङ्गलदायक श्री विनायक वन्दना
जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना
गिरिधर गोविन्द गोपाला घनश्यामनन्दलाला मनमोहना मधुसूदना हे माधवा मनमोहना मधुसूदना हे माधवा गिरिधर गोविन्द गोपाला घनश्यामनन्दलाला दामोदरा जनार्दना मुरलीधरा मनमोहना दामोदरा जनार्दना मुरलीधरा मनमोहना नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय
नमो साई नारायणाय
मधुसूदना हे माधवा दामोदरा जनार्दना मुरलीधरा मनमोहना नमो साई नारायणाय नमो सत्यनारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय नमो साई नारायणाय गिरिधर गोविंद
Sai Baba, you are my heart, you are my only love. Sai Baba, you are my heart, you are my only love. Sai Baba, you are my heart, you are my only love. Sai Baba. जय जय गोविन्द जय नन्दलाला
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 राधा लोला रासविलोला राधा लोला रासविलोला त्रिभुवन परिपाल दीनदयाला त्रिभुवन परिपाल दीनदयाला जय जय गोविन्द जय नन्दलाला सूरदास प्रभु करुणा सूरदास प्रभु करुणा मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर भक्त सखा भगवान गोपाला दीना सखा भगवान गोपाला जय जय गोविन्द जय नन्दलाला राधा लोला रासविलोला त्रिभुवन परिपाल दीनदयाला जय जय गोविन्द जय नन्दलाला सूरदास प्रभु करुणा मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर भक्त सखा भगवान गोपाला दीना सखा भगवान गोपाला जय जय गोविन्द जय नन्दलाला
यदुनन्द आनन्द नन्द गोपाला यदुनन्द आनन्द नन्द गोपाला राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे गोपाला राधे राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाला हरि आनंदमय साई गोपाला हरि आनंदमय साई गोपाला राधा लोला आनंद नंद गोपाला राधे राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाला राधे राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाला राधे 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 राधा लोला आनंद नंद गोपाला राधा लोला आनंद नंद गोपाला राधे राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाला राधे राधे गोविंद राधे गोपाला यदुनंदा आनंद नंद गोपाला
Why fear when I am here?
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 So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
Why fear when I am here?
Why fear when I am here?
All I want is your love, my child. All I want is your faith.
All I want is your love, my child. All I want is your faith.
All I want is your love and God, no matter what your faith.
All I want is your love and God, no matter what your faith.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
Why fear when I am here?
Why fear when I am here?
The light you see in the dark of night is that of God and man.
The light you see in the dark of night is that of God in man.
Find the light that is in your heart and reach thy promised land.
Find the light that is in your heart and reach our promised land.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
Why fear when I am here?
Why fear when I am here?
Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad all came through this land.
Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad all came through says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord.
So says Baba, Satya Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, my Lord. I'm here when I am here.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Satya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrakshak Bhakta Jana Samrakshak Bhakti Maheshwara Om Jai Jagadish Hare Shivadana Shikara Sarva Pranapati Swami Sarva Pranapati Ashita Kalpanatika Ashita Kalpanatika Abhasvana Om Jai Jagadish Mata Pita Guru Deva Hariyam Sayonime Swami Hariyam Sayonime Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nagendra Om Jai Jagadish Sai Mahadeva Satya Sai Mahadeva Mangalarati Mangalarati Antaragiriධාර Om Jai Jagadish Hare Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana 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 Satya Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadgurudeva Narayana Satya Narayana 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 Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadgurudeva Narayana Satya Narayana 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 Satya Narayana Narayana Satya Narayana Narayana Jai Sadgurudeva Shanti 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 Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् अशीम बहु वहिष्ठेमस्ति उष्टास्ति उष्टाहमय शतशाय वहिष्ठाय यशे नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स बुद्धं शरणं Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Adonai Echad Adonai Echad. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah. 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 Saishwaraya vidmahe Satyadevaya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Paramam pavitram bhava vibhuti paramam vichitram leela vibhuti. Artha ishtartha moksha pradhanam bhava vibhuti Nidavashrayami. Sacred, holy and supreme is Baba's vibhuti. Pouring forth in brilliant stream display of vibhuti. So auspicious is its font, it grants liberation. Baba's vibhuti, its power protects. Sai Baba's vibhuti, its power protects me.
Sai Ram. Here is the thought for the week. If satsang is not available, you can keep company with your own higher impulses and noble thoughts. Dive deep into your own divinity. The crocodile is happy and unharmed. It is undefeatable in the depths of the lake or river. Once it sprawls on land, it becomes the plaything of a man, an easy target for death. The depths, they are your refuge, the source of your strength. Do not stray into the shallows or the sands. You know that the Garuda bird feeds on snakes. Well, once the Garuda bird went to Kailasa Mount to pay respects to Shiva, who wears snakes on his head, arms, wrists, neck, waist, and ankles. When the snakes saw Garuda, they were unafraid. They even dared to put out their forked tongues at Garuda and challenged it to come near them. That was the extent of the courage lent to them by the place where they had established themselves. So establish yourself in the Atma. No worry or grief or pride can harm you then. Divine Discourse, 26th April 1965.